Hi there, it's Mel B, and we're going to do the wrap-up video for Something More Than Night with Ian Tregelles. Ian is with us tonight. Hi, Ian.
Hello.
Oh, wait, it's not switching to you. Now say hi.
Hello.
Hi there. It's funny, when we're in the, I guess they call it like the green room or whatever, before the Google Hangouts start, it switches back and forth automatically. I haven't figured out the magic of making it happen automatically when we're live, so
Huh.
it's weird. Anyway, so where should we start, do you suppose?
Um, I'm very flattered that you chose to read my book, so I'm happy to discuss anything you'd like. I hope you enjoyed it, and failing that, I hope that at the very least it engendered some interesting conversations. Um,
Yeah.
and I hope it didn't ruin anybody's day.
I don't think you ruined anybody's day. I really
Okay.
don't think that happened. But I think that we should probably start with, I don't know if we should start with Bayless or if we should end with Bayless. I'm not sure. And I read the book again, and I actually picked up the audiobook as well because you said the narrator nailed it, and you were right. He was fantastic.
Scott Brick, man, he is incredible.
He was
Yeah,
so good.
yeah, I agree.
So okay, here's a question that I had. The idea of the, oh no, now I can't remember what they're called, and my notes are somewhere else because I'm disorganized tonight. The
The,
polarity, yes,
the pleroma, yes.
yes. Okay, so what is the idea behind those? Where did those come from?
Um, well, I knew that I was going to write this book that took place in, kind of like a medieval European Christian version of heaven, but I didn't want to call it heaven, even though that's so obviously what it's what a human would think it is.
Sure.
Oh, hi, kitten. This is my cat, by the way.
Hi,
Um,
Kitty.
Hi, Annie. Oh, you're very bitey now, aren't you? On me. So a friend of mine had recommended the term pleroma, which I guess comes from, sort of a different tradition. As I think it comes from a Gnostic tradition, where it's the totality of the divine. And I thought, oh yeah, that's perfect for. Sorry about the cat tail.
It's okay.
Yeah, that's perfect because um, that's a nice, somewhat generic way of stepping around the word heaven, just because it's so heavily laden with meaning.
Sure, yeah.
So yeah, it's sort of I would call it a compromise choice. It was a word that would convey what I wanted without having too much baggage.
Okay. The way that I kind of understood them in the book was everybody had like their own apartment, and each apartment is your own personal heaven, and it's based on the best time of your life, like when you were your happiest, when you were at your most satisfied with everything in your life. So each little apartment is your own little piece of heaven, and that's all part of the bigger idea. That was kind of how I took it in the book. That's how I understood it.
That's a really nice, succinct way of putting it. I had never actually expressed it to myself that way. I mean, that's exactly what it is for Molly,
Yeah.
because she's sort of the only human, the only human angel, right? So it makes total sense that her little bit of heaven would be this recreation of the happiest time of her existence.
Right.
The other angels who are really alien have very different interests and things. So there's like we meet the angel where their pleroma is sort of, before it gets destroyed, their magisterium is the fading echoes of a cosmic string. This weird concept that humans wouldn't really get.
Right.
And I wanted all of the magisteria of the really weird angels to be as alien as I could make them while still writing in English for other human beings.
Right.
I try to think of like what are strange concepts that like that these basically omniscient and omnipotent beings would find interesting.
Right.
So that's why actually why the Magisteria are sort of described as these memory palaces, because then I felt like that was an easy construct in which to just build random weird things that entertain me.
Right. Okay. I also I loved the Magisterium of the music hall.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
That was my favorite one. I loved it.
Thank you. Thank you.
The ability to hear every note that was played in a place from forever to that point was fantastic. I loved that. That was so intriguing to me.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I was actually sitting in a concert when that thought occurred to me. I wasn't paying much attention to the music. My mind was wandering, and I thought, I was sitting in this hall with these great acoustics, and I just thought, what if there was an angel sitting up there hiding in the corner? So I thought, oh, that's it. One of these Magisteria is going to be like the angel, and it's like in between two notes, kind of these fading echoes again.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a really fun one. I thank you. I liked that one. I was proud of that one.
Well, 2 thumbs up from here. Also, okay, I don't know if I'm ready to tackle Bayless yet.
Okay.
So maybe we should start with Molly.
Okay.
What an unfortunate soul. I mean, of all the luck, right?
Well, it's lucky for us, though, us mortals, right? We're very lucky that she's the one that Bayless picked,
right.
For as sort of the mark for his scam. We might have discussed this a little bit offline before. The Bayless's storyline, it follows the development of sort of the classic noir story. I mean, all I did is I went and I looked, and we can get into this more later. I looked at like what are the major plot points of like a Raymond Chandler novel,
Right.
And I just went down the list and said, okay, well that's Bayless's plotline. So then as I was reading all these noir novels, the Chandler and the Hammett and the James M. Cain, there's just this endemic sexism. All the characterization is really thin, but women in particular get really short shrift because there's only about 3 female characters. There's sort of the puppyish virginal sylph. There's the kind of alcohol-soaked harridan, and then there's like the mysterious sexpot with a heart of ice.
Sure. Yeah.
And so Bayless tries to interact with Molly in that framework, but like Molly's role in the book, and I really see her as it's her book. She's the hero.
Yeah.
I wanted her to be the complete opposite of that, and to actually have agency, and to be her own character, and to be very modern, and to not put up with any of that crap.
Right.
Because I see no reason why she would. And so I had a lot of fun trying to say, like, okay, every time they interact, what would the standard noir interaction be? And then what can Molly do to remind Bayless and the reader that she's not going to let herself be put in these kind of antiquated pigeonholes.
Sure.
So that was kind of my goal for her. And I just had imagined the first scene of the book just kind of popped into my head years ago, and I just sort of envisioned this woman walking down the street, and she kind of sprung fully grown from that.
Mm-hmm.
And, I borrowed a line from a friend of mine who was describing what she wore to a job interview once, and she said, "It made me walk like the world was made of red carpet." And so I asked permission to steal that line for a book.
Yeah.
As soon as I heard that, I said, now I know who this person is.
I've used the line.
That's awesome. That's great. I'll tell later.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, I've used it a couple of times actually.
Awesome.
So okay, Molly comes into this world with very little guidance, and I feel like it was partly by design and partly out of maybe a little bit of I'm going to show you how much you need me on behalf of Bayless a little bit. That's what I got, but
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, she, for whatever reason, he thought that he'd found the right person, the right monkey, to make his whole complicated plan work.
right.
But he's so deeply steeped in this persona that he's not able to see that she's really a lot smarter than he gives her credit for,
Right.
and stronger than he gives her credit for. Because, the strong women in these kind of noir novels, they're strong in like in a way that's very self-serving to the story. They're only strong enough to stab someone in the back or to manipulate someone, but they
Right.
don't really have agency. So,
Right.
yeah, he bites off more than he can chew when he chooses.
He did, and I love that about Molly. Also, the scene between Molly and, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting her name.
Oh, Molly and Rhea, probably.
Yes, in the hospital when she wakes up, was such a beautiful scene. It was truly, it was touching, it was heartwarming, it was it felt like a warm hug while I was reading it. Like it was it was all coming from such a kind place between the two of them. It was really lovely to read.
Thank you. I really appreciate hearing that. I wanted there to be something nice there in the end, because Molly she's making quite a sacrifice. And we hear about Rhea all through the book, and we see her briefly, before the accident that puts her in the hospital.
Right.
But we never see those two interact. We just hear about it, and we just hear Molly's memories of it. So I thought it'd be nice to give Molly a little bit of interaction, and to show that Molly has been changed by this experience. She begins the book really pining for Rhea, and
yes.
though they've broken up, she really isn't over it, although she tells herself that she is. And then at the end, we see her honestly letting go.
Yeah.
And so I saw that as part of her arc, and I tried to make it a nice kind of human moment, even though Molly is very much no longer human at that point. I still wanted her to have a little bit of heart. So thank you. I'm glad to hear.
It was beautiful. Okay. I guess we're gonna have to talk about him at some point. So
Sure.
I think it's time to talk about Mr. Bayless, because I'm not sure still, even after reading the book a second time and listening to the audiobook, exactly how I feel about him. Because he starts the book and I'm like, okay, well, this guy's kind of interesting and he seems to have a lot going on, a lot on his plate. And then he's not a super nice guy to Molly. And then when he is brought in by the guys on the wheels, again, I don't have my notes. Sorry.
That's okay. He calls them the bulls, right? The thrones.
Yes, the thrones. Thank you. When he's in the room with those guys and going through the interrogation, I'm really rooting for him at that point. But I feel like at that point he was also rooting for Molly, so that made it okay for me to root for Bayless, who's to that point been kind of a jerk.
He has some rough edges.
Yeah, he really did.
Okay, so I'll tell you kind of what my secret thought process was about Bayless.
Okay.
When I read the book. So what I couldn't tell anyone, like when we were for the publicity and when we were promoting the book, and nothing that could go like on a cover copy, is that another major influence for the book was the movie The Usual Suspects.
Yeah.
And I see Bayless as sort of the Kevin Spacey character in The Usual Suspects. And the reason I came up, and that was really the whole concept of the book, because again, when I was reading all this noir, when I was reading all the Raymond Chandler's Philip Marlowe novels, they're all told in first person, like the Bayless sections of Something More Than Night are. Mm-hmm. But I realized after a while, I don't know where this came from, but I realized that you can read all of the Raymond Chandler books assuming that Philip Marlowe is an unreliable narrator. Hello, kitten. Um, because he is, his colleagues describe him in the books as a shop-soiled Galahad. He has this. He's very noble for the world that he inhabits, and he's basically a good guy. But we only ever get things from his point of view. So, and in almost every single Philip Marlowe adventure, there's a point, for instance, where he will be looking to talk to someone, and instead he'll find a dead body, and he never calls the cops. He always gets out his handkerchief. He'll go through the body, check its pockets, take out his handkerchief, wipe his fingerprints off the doorknob, and leave.
Right.
And after about 3 or 4 of those, I went, we only have his word for it that he didn't kill that guy.
Right.
So what if? And there are all sorts of things. Once you start thinking that way, you realize I could weave an entirely different story behind what Marlowe is claiming happened.
Right.
That was the whole concept behind Bayliss.
Okay.
So he's playing this role, and when he's getting grilled by the bulls,
yes.
The analog in sort of the standard noir story is that he's protecting his client.
Right.
He's pretending the role demands that Molly is his client. So he's protecting her from the bulls by being not non-cooperative. But again, it's all just part of this elaborate lie that he's telling. Because this whole elaborate lie that he's telling unfolds according to the standard noir storyline. Mm-hmm. So while he tells us that he's defending her from the bulls by not cooperating with them, we don't really know what he's up to. Because in fact, he's just manipulating her, and making her think that he's defending her is just another part of the manipulation.
Sure.
So I don't know if that makes any sense, but that was the concept.
Okay. All right. What were your favorite parts of the book to write? I'm always curious about that.
Oh boy.
I know. Favorite features of your favorite child, right?
Yeah, right. It was a lot of hard work getting the hang of Bayliss's patter early on, but once I kind of got the hang of it and got, had enough of the vocabulary in my head, his sections went pretty fast, and they were usually pretty fun to write.
Yeah.
I liked whenever I would come up with some patter between Bayliss and someone else. Bayliss and Molly, or Bayliss and Sam, that really weird angel. Or the people in his diner, in his magisterium. That was all really fun. And also, scenes where Molly, as she becomes more and more angelic, anywhere where I could stick in a little bit of physics, whether it was Molly realizing that she understands how gravity works, or Bayliss talking about black holes and what happens if you throw information into a black hole.
Right.
That kind of stuff was really fun to kind of slip in the background, just as some color.
Sure.
It was. I mean, the whole book was really fun. It was by far the most fun I've ever had writing a book.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, go ahead.
I miss it, actually. It was such a fun project that I hope someday to find another one that's as fun.
I feel like you could revisit the world and try to kind of flesh out why people were doing the scars on their backs with the wings.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I feel like there's a short story, a novella. I feel like there's something there that could come out of, why on earth did that become a thing?
Yeah, I do. I don't know if you can hear. My cat is scratching at the door. Do you mind if I let my cat out of the office?
No, not at all. Go for it. Please.
I apologize.
Don't worry.
Well, now she's just standing in the door, but
yeah.
She's a cat, so she knows how to make noise when she wants something, and just to keep making it until she gets what she wants.
Yeah.
The penitentes were one of those things where sometimes you just have an idea that pops into your head, and it seems it seems too good to pass up.
Yeah.
So, and they kind of gave me a lot of tone. Like as soon as I imagined them, that scene where they're in the bar in the beginning and they're dancing,
Yes.
that was like, oh, I understand the tone of this world now.
Yeah.
Um, and then I thought, well, rather than making them set dressing, it'd be cool to make them integral to the plot in some way. So then I found a way to work them in. I think it's I think it's a very spiky world in that there are a lot of places to explore in it. And so I've had on the back burner for a long, long time a half-finished short story about Bayless on the night that all the satellites died, when there's that war in heaven, well, in the heavens, and all the satellites get destroyed.
Yes.
Because I realized that, again, I could write a complete, straight-down-the-middle noir mystery about that night. And that would actually involve the Penitentes again.
Right.
So I've written like half of it.
Okay.
Sometimes I tend to put stories in the back burner for a long time and not come back to them. But I do want to come back to that world. I have a vague idea for a sequel or a related book in the same world.
Mm-hmm.
Probably with Bayless again. But whether before or after Something More Than Night, I'm not sure.
Right.
But I would like to go back to it someday. But then I'd have to relearn all that noir lingo.
That's a task in itself, right?
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
So if a new book did happen after Something More Than Night, how would it set up? Because maybe I read this wrong or understood it wrong. Or misunderstood, I guess, instead of understanding wrong. Maybe I misunderstood, but I took it as the trumpet signaled the end of the world. I thought at the end of the book it was just, that was it. There was nothing.
Oh, well, I mean, the way I see it is she uses the trumpet, but it enables her to kind of fix the world, right? So the world is falling apart.
Right, she puts the atmosphere back and she does all of that stuff. Yeah. Never mind. What am I talking about?
But I mean, it is a very kind of apocalyptic idea, blowing that image from Revelations, blowing the trumpets and breaking the seals and all that. So in fact, when I started working on this, in early drafts, I tried to work in more of that kind of Book of Revelations imagery, but I felt like I wasn't doing a very good job of integrating it. So I think after Something More Than Night, humanity kind of gets a second chance. Whether or not they use it wisely, who knows? Probably not.
Right.
But Molly did what she could. Bayless is still stuck there. It's kind of the steward that Molly, she forced him to stay on Earth, right? He's trapped there in his mostly human persona. So I think one could do a book following a much reduced Bayless, right, who's mostly human for real and not pretending to be mostly human as he was through Something More Than Night.
Right.
But I haven't given it a lot of thought because I don't know how I could get Molly into that book. I think her story is complete. And without another Molly, I wouldn't know how to do something interesting.
That is an interesting thought there. I don't know. If I had the answer for you, I could co-write it with you, but
yeah,
just kidding.
When you figure it out, let me know.
I will. I'll shoot you an email for sure. Okay, Ian, is there anything else that you would like us to know about the book?
What would I like you to know about the book?
Is there anything that we haven't talked about that you're always waiting to find out if readers pick up on?
Oh gosh, I will say, well, I mean, I never expect people to. Usually when I write a book, I manage to put things into the book that amuse me solely for the purpose of amusing me.
That's how I do my radio show.
Yeah, right. You have to have fun, right?
Right.
So I tried. I didn't get them all, but like throughout the book, I manage in dialogue, usually in Bayless's sections, either when he's talking to someone else or when he's, kind of in his own head with his weird patter. I tried to work in all of the titles of all the Raymond Chandler Philip Marlowe books, like
Okay.
pieces of dialogue. Some of them were really easy because one of them is titled The Little Sister. So that was a gimme. In fact,
Yeah.
that might have been the one that inspired it. But he refers to the view of Earth from the Pleroma as something about looking from the high window.
Sure.
That's a Marlowe novel. The Long Goodbye. So I tried to work those in there as little Easter eggs. I'm trying to think of some of the others. I tried to put little Easter eggs from Chandler and Hammett as well, but again, mostly just to entertain myself.
Yeah.
And I played on. There are a lot of really famous Raymond Chandler lines because he's just. I think his Marlowe novels are amazing. Just the descriptions are so perfect, and yet there are things you'd never think of.
Right.
So I tried to riff on some of the more famous Chandler descriptions. Unfortunately, since I'm not Raymond Chandler, I could only ever degrade them a little bit. But I tried to play with these famous lines like, "She was the kind of blonde that could make a bishop kick a hole in a stained glass window."
You're right. Yeah.
Yeah, like in the first page of the book, I kind of, I play with that line a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, if I hope people enjoyed it, and if they did, I certainly recommend the Philip Marlowe novels because I think they're masterpieces. Again, there's the characterization issues, but if you can, put that aside just for the beauty of the language,
Sure.
yeah, they're sublime.
Excellent. All right. Well, Ian, thank you so much.
Thank you very, very much.
No, it's been an absolute treat, and you're an incredible writer, and you've got to finish the short story for me.
Now I'm inspired. Now I'm inspired.
Right? Oh my goodness. So thank you for writing the book. Thank you for agreeing to be part of the book club and spending some time with us. I appreciate that.
My great pleasure. Thank you. I'm honored that you chose my book.
No, I read it. It was a few months ago now that I read it, and it's like I need to tell more people about this book because it's a great one.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm very proud of it. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll be in touch. I'm gonna email you once in a while to find out how that short story's coming along.
Please do. Yeah, nudge me, and maybe I'll actually finish it.
That's right. All right, Ian. Thank you so much, and we'll talk again soon. And enjoy the snow in Mexico or New Mexico.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you. This is a pleasure.
Okay, we'll talk soon.
Okay. Bye.
Okay. Bye.